Needs to be massaged by Big Daddy.
It does. It's got to come all apart and be fixed inside so it's free.
Well, you may have to use some new parts on this one. 577?
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, well, a little bit of oil on Don's motor. I'm sure he'd like to get to that and start solving that problem before he goes into the second round up against Joe Amato.
Well, he's got some work to do for sure, Steve. Some oil on that motor and, as you said, a brand new reverser that needs to be fixed as well. So Big Daddy heads for the pits. We'll be back with more Top Fuel competition after this.
Just a sea of race car trailers here in the pit area at State Capitol Raceway in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And the crowd, well, they're still arriving. The biggest ever in the 10-year history of the 7-Eleven Cajun Nationals. I'm Steve Evans, along with Brock Yates and Ed Bruce, and those are the gloved hands of Gary Ormsby. Top fuel dragster driver and car dealer from Roseville, California, former winner of the NHRA Winter Nationals, and he will be up against here in round one competition, the rookie, the one they call the kid, Darrell Gwynn from Miami, Florida. His first season of top fuel racing, but a former world champion in the alcohol dragster ranks.
And a young man that a lot of people say has a great future in this business, Steve. A very heady driver, part of a family-run team. And Darrell Gwynn listens to the old-timers, especially to the man up the road in Florida, Big Daddy Don Garlitz, who in a way has helped him along.
And Gary Ormsby, Brock, has absolutely the cleanest operation I have ever seen in this sport. There's never any grit and grime on that car, the crew, their beautiful 18-wheeler. It is just spotless. I don't even know how they do it.
An interesting car, too, Steve. That's a very long wheelbase top fuel car that Gary has, and they worked around rear wheels with some pods for some extra air management around those big rear wheels.
Now, Darrell Gwynn may be a rookie in top fuel, but don't worry about his driving. The alcohol cars are almost as fast as the top fuelers, and as I said before, he's been a world champion in that category. But the thing they have to learn is how to adjust to nitromethane. It is just a whole nother animal. If the motor is a little lean, you burn it up, you blow the blower off. Alcohol in the tank is very forgiving. Not this stuff.
It sure isn't, and now they're running percentages almost 100%. Remember when 50% nitro was a big deal? Now 98% is common. Just like loading up your fuel tank with liquid TNT.
Indeed it is, and it's very expensive stuff, almost $40 a gallon. They both smoke the tires right up the starting line. This will be a driver's race. Gary Ormsby too near the center line to stay on the throttle. Darrell Gwynn wins it with a very slow 639, 222 miles an hour, but he'll take it anyway. Brock, the racetrack is just not quite as good as it was in qualifying. We saw Dale Pooley overpowered in funny car. Now both of these drivers just blazed the tires. They had to get off the throttle, back on it again, trying to get that smoke to dry up.
Well, we remember the Meyer-Carretti race, a very similar situation here. This racetrack is going to be mighty tricky as the day carries on here, as we see Ormsby almost get into the side of Darrell Gwynn. Loses it when he crosses the line.
Well, even though he had to fight from the starting line to the finish line for it, that was Darrell Gwynn's first ever national event victory. Congratulations, Darrell.
Thank you very much, Steve. We know that we weren't going to win races right off the bat. We're still at a learning stage right now, but we'll take them as we can get them. I'll tell you, we don't plan on winning these first couple races, but anything can happen.
Could you see Gary Ormsby? He was having big trouble across the center line.
Yeah, I saw him right next to me. Yep, we were all having troubles. It's anybody's race once you get in the field, though.
Well, they call you the kid, but this sport will mature you very fast.
Well, I don't know. There's a bunch of old guys in this class. I'm the youngest, so.
See you in the second round.
Thank you.
So the learning curve continues to go upward for this young man on his way to a probable championship somewhere down the road. All right, back in the pit area, that is the man, the Snake, doing a hydrometer reading on his nitromethane mixture because he's got a heavy hitter up against him in the next round of 20 cars. That is Jim Head, so he'll need a heavy percentage of nitro. But right now, it's going to be more top fuel competition. That is one of the great names in this business, Gary Beck.
Well, Gary Beck, Brock, is still the world record holder for a lap time in 5.39 seconds, but has not come close to that number in about a year. Still struggling with the fuel system. They lost a favored supercharger and just haven't found another one to match it.
So still part of the vaunted Larry Minor team from Hemet, California. Gary Beck, now something of an underdog, Steve.
Alabama's Bill Mullen came out strong. His very first shot of the Cajun Nationals, a 5.56, which held up as the #2 qualifier. Only Joe Amato ran a little bit quicker, but he came back for another qualifying run, and this was the result. A horrible engine explosion broke a couple of connecting rods. A little bit of fire resulted. Bill was okay. The car was okay. And as you can see, there is a motor back in. Again, at this car, he will race Gary Beck in round 1. Now, is that the motor that you ran 5.56 with, Bill?
Yeah, we took the good motor out, and we wanted to save it for the second round if we got by the first round. And fortunately, it's in good shape. But we hurt the spare motor, and last night John stayed up all night, and the rest of us stayed up part of the night and fixed another spare motor.
So this one doesn't necessarily have to carry you through the day?
No, we've got another complete motor sitting in there and a block assembly too, ready to go.
Does a top fuel driver have any idea when he's on fire like that? Can you feel any heat at all with it behind you?
I felt the vibration. I couldn't feel the heat. I guess the wind was taking it all away, but I felt the vibration. I felt like it kicked the rods out of it.
It indeed did.
Yeah, made a mess, that's for sure.
Well, John Carey, the chief mechanic and car owner of that car, a renowned diesel expert in the southeastern United States, and he and his crew bolted that engine back together, and Mullen is ready to go.
You know, I think when you've been working on those great big diesel motors as many years as John Carey, that these little aluminum racing engines are just like toys. I mean, he goes out here, explodes them, and it doesn't even faze him, Brock. That kind of work or broken parts, it doesn't mean anything to a guy used to working on those great big heavy equipment engines.
Yeah, these things are only about 500 cubic inches, little toys, really. Let's see how this race goes, though.
It was Bill Mullen off the mark first. Bill Mullen, Gary Beck wheel to wheel. The electronic finish line judge says Bill Mullen. Identical elapsed times. Both of them run 5.74. The second race today, we have seen identical ETs. Now watch the car in the far lane. Indeed, off the mark first.
Just by a wink, but that is enough to spell a margin of victory because Gary Beck stayed with Bill Mullins the entire quarter mile. Fantastic drag race, one that you will very seldom see much closer. Looks more like a pro stock competition. The race cars are so close at the finish line, but Mullins pulls it out.
Oh boy, thank goodness for electronics, because the human eye could never have called that at over 240 miles per hour. That's a drag race. So on Top Fuel, the semifinals, we have this to look forward to. Mullins versus Gwen. Mullins will have lane choice. He ran quicker. It will be world champion Joe Amato versus Big Daddy Don Garland's the second half of the semis. Let's go to Ed.
The Top Fuel dragsters always generate lots of excitement. Sometimes the matchups and personalities of particular drivers just seem to intensify the competitive spirit. Let's take a look back at one such race. It was first round competition in Top Fuel, matching Connie Coletta in a brand new car against Shirley Muldowney racing in the near lane. The history of Connie and Shirley's past involvement is well publicized, and it seemed to make each meeting between the two a tremendous battle. Both cars completed their burnouts and back into the starting lanes. Shirley approached the line when suddenly we noticed something was wrong with Connie's car. It was stuck in reverse. He couldn't get it into forward. Shirley's car was now staged and her engine was possibly in danger of becoming too hot. Starter Buster Couch was waiting to see if Connie could solve the problem. And finally, too much time had elapsed and he started the race, just as Connie got his car working. Shirley went on to win the race and Connie Coletta was hopping mad. But after all, that's what you'd expect, because those are the kinds of things of which rivalries are made. Fellas?
Well, Ed, you don't always need race cars to get a little action at a drag race when Connie Coletta's around. All right, now, round 2 action, funny cars. Steve's in the pits.
Jim Head and crew are running just a little bit behind the rest of the competitors getting ready for round number 2. They had to put a spare engine in the car, and it's taken them an awful long time because the original motor, this one that I'm kneeling with right here, wasn't discovered to be faulty until the last minute. The diver, as they call the guy that lays under and checks the bearings, signaled them that they had spun some rod bearings. Jim said they're really not that bad. A lot of people might have run this engine, including himself, but he said I had a fresh motor that I had a lot of confidence in, and I didn't want to take a chance of burning the car up. So Jim Head will be ready for round number 2. You can bet on that. And this is a special race for him. It signaled the start, really, of his pro career with a runner-up finish a year ago.
Well, Steve Head and the guys better spin the wrenches because we've got the first pair ready to go. It'll be the Hawaiian with Rick Johnson at the wheel. He'll go against Californian John Force.
You're looking at the pit area of top fuel dragster world champion Joe Amato. His crew chief Tim Richards taking extra precautions getting this motor ready because in the second round they will face off with Big Daddy Don Garland. Could be the race of the day at the 7-Eleven Cajun Nationals. I'm Steve Evans along with Brock Yates and Ed Bruce, and that man under the motor has maybe the dirtiest job in all of drag racing, checking the bearings, but one of the most important ones, because if anything is wrong in that bottom end, it means the motor has to come out of the car. This is second round funny car action. Back at the starting line, Rick Johnson and Roland Leon's famed Hawaiian Dodge Daytona car up against the beautiful Corvette-bodied automobile in the far lane of John Brute Force from Southern California. Now, neither of these drivers has ever scored an NHRA major event victory. But for John Force, it can't be far away. He's been runner-up, in fact, right here at the Cajun Nationals. Rick Johnson earlier this year recorded the quickest elapsed time in the history of funny car racing at 5.58 seconds. The roof hatch opened, Brock Yates, to let a little of that burnout smoke escape.
Yeah, no air conditioning on these babies, Steve. You know, this could be a mighty interesting race. This track is getting very treacherous. The heat's getting higher and higher all the time. We've seen some real sideways motoring in a couple of the other rounds. Peretti and Meyer come to mind. Boy, that was a wild one. And this racetrack could cause some real problems for these guys.
Indeed it could. You know, John Force has been working very hard on his driving. They changed the throttle language on this car before the Cajun Nationals to what they call a long throttle, so it has more travel and more sensitivity down the racetrack. We don't often hear it, Brock, but a lot of times these drivers are on and off that throttle trying to keep those tires hooked up and not smoking.
Well, I would imagine they've made some pretty severe clutch adjustments in these cars because a couple of guys have just gone up and smoke just overpowered the racetrack, as you say, and I would imagine that some pretty serious thoughts gone into clutch adjustments on these race cars.
Well, the clutch on these cars can be as important as the engine, because if the clutch locks up too soon, too much of that 3,000 horsepower goes to the rear tires, and you see them smoke, and that's a very easy way to lose a drag race. They move up the stage. In the near lane is Rick Johnson. In the far lane is John Force. Both cars based in Southern California. You see him tickling those electronic beams. Force, the last to move in. We are ready. Starter Buster Cat will send them on their way. It is John Force off the line first. Rick Johnson near that center line. He did not cross it. John Force is there first by a car length. A 597, 244 miles an hour. And both crews appeared to have guessed right on that clutch. At least they got down the racetrack without any tire smoke. John Force will go to the semifinals.
And proving that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. That was John Force. Rick Johnson, on the other hand, kind of takes the long way around. He goes kind of a curvaceous route out toward the center line, almost crosses it right here. That gets the car straightened out, but at that point, it's Force home by almost a car and a half.
Well, John, did you have to use that long throttle on that victory?
Believe it or not, Steve, didn't have to. The guys coiling them, they had her dialed in. Only thing really happened, and I just had to do a little growing up. Me and Coyle talked about just mental attitude on that start line and the whole thing of concentrating on the race. And after 10 years of standing here with you, I can't believe I'm still learning every day.
Rick Johnson was no easy one.
No, it scares me. The likes of Roland's been doing this a long time. Johnson's tough. He's a good old boy, but he's tough out there, and I'm glad we beat him.
Okay, going to the semifinals. Obviously happy is John Force.
He sure is, Steve, and one of the most dedicated, hard-working funny car racers in the business. The next pairing, a mighty, mighty interesting combination. Oswald versus Bernstein. Bernstein car, an interesting component in there.
That's a computer you're looking at, Brock. And computers are not new to drag racing, but this particular type is revolutionary. And they're really not talking too much about it. They're monitoring a whole lot of functions in that automobile. Something is working because they have won the last two races on the circuit, the Gator Nationals and the Southern Nationals, hold both ends of the national record, ET and mile an hour. So the crew chief, Dale Armstrong, working with Kenny Bernstein, have got some serious speed secrets in that particular Ford-bodied automobile.
So while Bernstein and crew have definitely found a combination, Oswald and Candice and Hughes, after winning the World Championship, are much like Gary Beck. They have sort of lost the combination. They just can't seem to make that race car work the way it is traditionally run, as we see Leonard Hughes, an old drag racer himself, helping to put that car on the line. But right now, the pressure is definitely on Mark Oswald. hometown crowd, a crowd that expects this race car to really perform. And so far, it has not been working very well during this entire season. Mark Oswald, world champion, hired gun from Cleves, Ohio, outside Cincinnati in the Candies and Hughes car. Kenny Bernstein, and his big story, of course, the computer. Steve looked at it earlier.
One of the reasons why Kenny Bernstein has won the last 2 NHRA national events and holds both ends of the national speed records may be this: under 4 pounds, a little black box. Now, you've probably already guessed it is a computer. Now, we've talked about computers before on his car, but they were big, they were bulky, they wouldn't take the pain and strain of drag racing. This one is bulletproof. This is the actual computer that goes into the car before every run. It is then unbolted out of the car, goes into the trailer where this very simple, inexpensive computer is plugged in. But the data that comes out of the box is anything but simple. There's more than I could even recount to you. It takes 40 readings a second. It tells you the engine RPM every point down the racetrack. It tells them when Kenny shifts from first into high gear. It gives them a complete fuel flow graph. It tells you the shaft speed and the engine speed, so you know the clutch slippage. Just incredible information that soon everybody may be privy to, because they plan to market this unit in all forms of motor racing for under $3,000. Quite a bargain. Dale Armstrong and Kenny Bernstein have really broken some ground here.